originally built as a residential palace for my grand-uncle, Prempeh I in 1925, was turned into a museum by my brother, Otumfuo II, memory of the adversities and sacrifices that Prempeh I endured with those around him, divisional and sub-divisional chiefs, courtiers, some of whom lost their lives in Kumasi and across the Indian Ocean and the Seychelles Islands. There are two emotional photos in the exhibition of his initial journey to the coast with hundreds of Asantes who said they would not let him travel alone to exile. This exhibition, the first since the museum was established nearly 30 years ago, is part of the terms of negotiations with the British Museum and the Victoria and Albert Museum. I'm therefore very happy to see Dr. Chris Gosden and Dr. Tristram Hunt, who promised they would come when all had been cleared and the objects are home with us. I'm so happy to hear the MOU signed with the British Museum partly on technical support especially conservation models of the objects has begun, and that tools for this have been secured. That out of this, a visiting curatorship has also been agreed upon. We have just heard what some of the partners had to say and the backing of multilateral institutions such as UNESCO. We have also heard from two people appointed to handle the negotiation issues, Professor Malcolm MacLeod, whose book, Images of Ghana, and Ivor Agyemangdua's A History of Menchia Palace Museum has been launched in additional but specific literature of museology in Asante in the last 200 years. We all accept that there are universal values of culture which attract people from different ethnic groups, nationalities, and beliefs. The reactions of these objects coming home were ample evidence of this. But we must also realize that cultural changes and bereavement are part of human nature, and to that extent, contemporary artistic creations cannot escape from these human preferences, sometimes also generational. Previously, many art historians discarded the idea of African art, yet the black race came with its own forms, whether from Southern Africa or the eastern side of the continent. That denial was not surprising under implantations of external cultures. What was also not surprising was again the denial that art markets and auction houses existed in parts of Africa, including Asante in the 1800s. If these have been proved wrong with research and scholarship, including art histories of the continent now taught in universities, home and abroad, there's a current challenge we all also need to look at. Most of the returned objects in this exhibition were made by Asante royal artisans, or the group we call Otumfuo, who still practice their trade and have been doing so since Asante was founded. Many are resident artists. It took time before they were licensed to go commercial and into the open markets. Now the world is an open place and trade and business knows no boundaries. It's the market that determines many of the choices we make and the things we buy. If there's freedom from royal artisans to be liberal from palace impositions and participation to participate in the open markets, it brings some personal wealth or income for families and should absolutely be encouraged. There is a reverse side that could be worrying. Markets are markets, and those who invest in African art these days do so and trade in futures. There are many galleries springing up in modern African cities, and there are reviews of contemporary African art in major media that include CNN, Bloomsbury, CBS, SABC, of young African artists who have graduated from art schools within the continent and abroad. Many of their products are sadly not in African galleries for sale, and are easily bought by non-African with interest in them or to be branded and marketed for bigger profits.
Zero.
It's the markets. What can we do to save some of the creative energies of especially contemporary artists? Is some of the exhibition objects were taken forcibly at war and sometimes at peace. The ones that are being produced and brought from Africa today are at the dictates of the markets.
Zero.
From the LC Palace in France to homes of prime ministers of Europe and middle and upper class individuals. These artworks are precious objects that would be worth millions in the future. Will many Africans have to travel to see these in future? I asked the Manshia Palace Museum to design a project to support traditional art in Ghana.
Zero.
And we'll be collaborating with the KNUST College of Art and some of our partners, including the British Museum, the Victoria and Albert Museum, the British Airways and IAG Cargo to support this. In 10 years from 2025, it would institute 3 prizes a year in traditional fine arts. The works of major finalists will not only be purchased for the upcoming Contemporary Court Art Museum, so we can help retain some of the creative art products in this country. When I next travel to England in the coming months, I'm told it's in July, I'll be meeting some of these Ghanaian artists, painters, goldsmiths, and see how we can collectively, and working with some of the royal or traditional art groups, do this.
Zero.
When the modalities are set up, we will also work with private galleries in the country to at least retain some of the productions. It is not always that we have to solicit for things we can strive and do for ourselves.
Zero.
I hope that over the days and the months ahead, you'll find comfort and be inspired by some of the creativities of our forebears. The exhibition that we are witnessing today has been through negotiations from my predecessors, where Prempeh I, when he returned, requested for these artifacts to be brought back.
Zero.
Prempeh II, my uncle, also broached that idea in 1948.
Zero.
My brother, Otumfuo, also came up with this idea again, and then I come here now standing in front of you to also negotiate.
Zero.
And then in May, when I traveled, I brought the matter up again with the British Museum, and through that meeting, here we are with all these items being returned to us.
Zero.
We thank them very much. It is not the end. I know we still have so much to do, but this is the first phase of it. And the agreement is for us to keep it for 3 years and then renew it for another 3 years.
Zero.
Interestingly, people were arguing that, but these things are for us, so why are they loaning it to us? Unfortunately, there's a law in Britain, law of antiquity, which even doesn't allow them to move these items out of the country.
Zero.
But for the sake that they believed in us and that we went in for negotiations and were able to convince them that we would display that for our people to also see it. The items that came back virtually is the soul of the people of Ashanti.
Zero.
We are displaying this for you to see that the items that were stolen, looted
Zero.
in 1874, not all of them has returned, but that what we have here still embodies the soul of Ashanti.
Zero.
And I believe within the period that they are being displayed here, you make an effort, everybody, to come in and visit, to see it yourselves, to believe that yes, we have this. Yes, these were created by our own artisans. Yes, we ask ourselves, are we able to do that in this modern day?
Zero.
In those days, in 1874 and early on, if we had artisans who have not been to universities being able to create this, why can't we do this now?
Zero.
So that is also a challenge to our students, that's a challenge to our young people and all that, to be able to be creative enough to be able to design these artists. So the spirit is back here, and then everybody should please visit. The Opemsuo sword is there, the Nchemche is there, everything up there are all being displayed for you to see that yes, as we said, when they ransacked here, yes, it was true. Yes, they are still keeping our artifact, but we also are happy that they've agreed to return some of these to us for display for our people to see it.
Sure.
Thank you. Let us accept that today is a day for Ashanti. It's a day for the Black African continent, that the spirit that we bore and share is back with us again today. Thank you very much.
Sure.